Namaste and welcome everyone. It's good to be back here with you today. Today we'll be engaging Principle 5 of the Aware in a World of Sleep book, A Principled Way for Living Spiritually. Principle 5 is service to your inner truth it's the highest form of love. Pardon me. Let me say that again. Service to your inner truth is the highest form of love. And this is a quote from A Course in Miracles. If you send forth only the messengers the Holy Spirit gives you, wanting no message but theirs, you will see fear no more. Listen to this singularity. If you send forth only the messengers of the Holy Spirit gives you, wanting no message but theirs, you will see fear no more. Love lived. I suspect most people see love as a series of acts that seem to show we care about others. I love you, we say, and out of that verbal expression we engage with others in acts of kindness and caring. Everything from a gentle smile or hug in a time of need to bringing food to a neighbor when in despair, all the way to bringing home a dozen roses or a box of candy just to celebrate the one loved. On it goes throughout the days and months and years, expressing the feeling that we care for someone besides ourselves. These are good things to do, certainly, and are glimpses of the loving way, but mostly to point the way. Yet often, these expressions are not real signs of authentic love in the ultimate sense. As good as these examples are, and many more like them, often they are but an extension of the best side of our ego consciousness. This is largely because we are rarely in touch with our innate wisdom. We are living under the influence of the collective consciousness and the callousness engendered by the fast-paced, egocentric express train many of us are on. Much of the times our actions only reflect our never-ending compulsion to overcome the guilt that festers beneath the skin of ego consciousness. Such expressions are only an illusion, dressed up to make us think they are real and the truth. It is said that the greatest sign of real love is giving up one's life for another. But even this, believe it or not, is not the ultimate gift of pure love. The greatest, the greatest sign of love is not that we lay down our physical life for another, even as noble as that is. The real demonstration of love is that we lay down the ego's way for the spiritual. This serves our deepest inner calling and brings integrity of being and fullness of dignity to all of life. This is authenticity defined. Setting aside ego consciousness for the truth defines spiritual intimacy, that invisible servant which brings us home at last to our authentic being. With more love than we can give, what more love can we give to the world than to be intimate with the truth of what we are, our most authentic selves? What a remarkable example of wisdom for all to live and be. Living true to our inner calling is our only work, our only business. All others have the same business we do. We just need to let them do it, or help them become aware of the need to do it, but only when asked. We don't force ourselves on others, or have them do what we want them to do. And then just be there for them instead of trying or feeling the need to change them. Changing others is not our business. Somewhere I read that God was satisfied simply to create the world. It is only we who feel the need to both create and change the world, all of it. Feeling the need to change others or the world comes off as a need to be judgmental. The truth of the matter is that it is the one who wants the other to change that must come to grips with those very same traits within themselves, or his intolerance to them. What is the cure for such a perspective? The cure is about taking your life back, your real life back. When we focus on desired change in another is tantamount to giving those pieces within us to another. Some call this giving our soul away. It is not that really, but projection is close to it, for we expend or project our emotional, psychic, and spiritual energy on an illusion we're really trying to heal in ourselves onto another. In this sense, we are indeed giving away a view of ourselves so we don't have to deal inwardly with it. Instead, we must repent, that is, go in another direction, not whip ourselves and self-flagellation and so on. We must just go in another direction, the direction that uses these same judgments as a way of redirecting the desired changes to be done within oneself, not the other. By doing so, we loosen those erroneous evaluations that seem too painful and too strong to deal with. When we take our life back, we expose those fearful thoughts about ourselves and find behind them the truth that we are one. Simply awaiting the conscious awareness will set that truth free. We have just momentarily forgotten the sacred process of spiritual demonstration and need only a gentle reminder to recoup the truth and express it thus. This kind of service, living authentically, is the highest form of love and life. It is the highest form of service because as we fulfill our highest calling to express only wisdom, that is what brings the fullness of purpose to life. When we listen even further, we will come to know, G-N-O-W, without a shadow of a doubt, precisely in what form we ought to exercise our truth. In the larger context of eternity, we get to live or express our inner truth through all we do. That reality is what makes us really alive and what forms the highest service we can be. We can be to all. Alive with enthusiasm and passion. I recently reviewed a short photo essay, written commentary by Jan Sadek, a brilliant Czechoslovakian photographer, stunningly beautiful in all regards. It reminded me of the feeling I get when I allow my true self to be fully immersed in this glorious gift life is. Sadek says it this way: I'm here where I belong. I am alive, where his passion for what he is best expressed, I might add. To be able to know and act alive in our life's calling is magical, an expression of truth all wrapped up in one. How joyful it is and how alive we are. I suppose this is a true definition of enthusiasm and passion, to be alive with and as what one is called to truly be, not what others wishes to be. This investment and loyalty to our real identity fulfills our purpose. Authentic fulfillment can never come from all our doings as we play various roles. Fulfillment comes only from expressing what we know to be the truth for us, no matter what or what people think. The so-called bottom line then is that while it takes courage to hear the voice of your enthusiasm instead of the ego, it is obedience or surrender to what we're enthusiastic and passionate about that brings our truth to fruition. Enthusiasm means in the presence of God, with God, on fire with God, at one with our highest self, wisdom. What could be better? What could be more true? To be other than that is to be at the doorstep and beckoning call of abject fear. I do not know about you, but that is no longer an option for me. Like my former wife would wisely say when she wanted to refrain from imbibing too much chocolate, I just don't make it an option that I consider. So in a way, it doesn't exist for me. Amen, and a woman, I say to that, and for fear as well. Ask yourself this: in the larger context of giving meaning in your life, why would you decide to do or invest your life in something for which you had no enthusiasm? Why would you commit to something your heart is not in, something in which you do not feel alive, something for which you have no passion? Can you imagine anything worse? You probably don't have to imagine it. You may be living it. If you do not feel enthusiasm or passion for a life path from your profession all the way to some relationship, do not go there. That is not your answer spiritually. The only real answer is to go for the juice. Go where the voice of enthusiasm and passion take you. You will not worry, and you will not be sorry, nor will you ever be alone. On the other hand, to reside in loyalty to our belief in ego betrays our truth of being. This is such a disservice to all we touch as well as ourselves. Stuck in the unawareness of our sacred calling, we tend to serve others behind a mask that hides a false sense of unworthiness. In this framework, we strive until we drop to serve everyone and anyone, and always at our own expense. In the final analysis, we find only that we've used this external striving as a distraction, so we won't have to look at our dysfunctional world within. A friend once told me of a stunning discovery he made in this regard while engaged in an intensive spiritual recovery retreat over a weekend. At a particular moment in a meditative state, an image came crashing through to him as divine revelation. He saw himself as a butterfly flapping his wings furiously, hoping to keep the world going. In the wake of that image, he realized that he had been using the crutch of external purpose to fulfill his internal need. When we discussed it, he said to me in conclusion, "I finally got it, that it's not my business to hold up the world. My only business is to fulfill my true being, my truth for me. If I do that faithfully, then I'll be so much better, not only because I'll be living with integrity, but that integrity will also nourish all my relationships, fulfilling my purpose of being." I'd say my friend got his money worth out of that weekend, wouldn't you? Ways of knowing truth. That's G-N-O-W-I-N-G. Ways of knowing truth. Acknowledging and celebrating the enthusiasm and passion we have for a particular aspect of life, or even life in general, is one good way of knowing that truth has just surfaced and we are happy to be expressing it. Another way is by acknowledging that which comes to us in the silence of our being. It is not that we have to take ourselves into a meditative state in order to know the truth, although for many this can be and is helpful. The way I'm talking about here is the voice we hear between the words and sentences spoken and read. If we listen carefully to the resonance and to one another is saying, instead of preparing ourselves to make the next declaration, we will hear the voice of wisdom speaking to us as resonance, and we will have connected with that other being, which is really simply another us. Truth can also be found in the silence from which speaks from a paragraph spiritually crafted or a brushstroke lovingly applied. By getting out of our own way and letting go of the need to control everything, the Spirit can have its way with us. By silencing ego consciousness, we come to truth. This is the voice to which we must become attuned, and of its fruit more fully aware. It is to this that we must surrender and demonstrate. We all have heard this resonance with wisdom speak within us. We might not identify it quite this way, or think that it's other than a choice to be made. That does not change the nature of truth, however, or what our sacred nature calls us. It is only ego consciousness that holds truth as a choice, so the ego can have an equal chance to barter for your presence and activation on its behalf. The fact of the matter, however, is that the ego is a mortal configuration or illusion, a belief crafted out of the mass consciousness that has as its foundation belief in the absence of or separation from the calling of innate wisdom. Through the use of this belief, the ego establishes the idea again and again and yet again that we have a choice of whether or not to believe in God, or whether it is God that is omnipotent, omniscient, omnipresent, and ever active. It is from this faulty premise that people fight to the death for their beliefs and opinions, when, spiritual speaking, beliefs and opinions are self-limiting in their nature. It is only from our inner knowing that we come to know that beliefs have nothing to do with spiritual fulfillment. Only experience our inner knowing can provide fulfillment. There is no mistaking the voice heard inwardly. It is soft, instantaneous, and absolutely delightful to behold. We call this gift by a number of names depending on the slant we want to put on it. To begin with, we might well call this resonance our inner resonance of our inner voice, intuition. Intuition must be spiritual, for if for no other reason than because those steeped in ego consciousness poo-poo intuition as a mere subjective, even sentimental response to what life brings us, and certainly inappropriate for real men to develop and use. Well, seeing as there really is no truly objective response because of our innate capacity for layering our history on all perspectives and perceptions, to deny the real meaning gained from our intuition strikes me as sheer folly and as a misunderstanding of the nature of true knowing. Another term we could easily use to describe the transformative nature of truth discerned is insight, and yet another, enlightenment. I like these terms for the light they bring to the ignorance or darkness. Each reflects inner knowing in the purest way, extended from the beacon of truth, wisdom, the Christ that works within each of us. And we are led beyond intellectual and emotional information and interpretation. Then, of course, there's transformation and transcendence, or even resurrection. Each of those connotes a major yet sometimes subtle shift in meaning for the one who's paying attention with awareness. The shift is from a more material take on a particular matter to a spiritual relation. The sacred bond can then be utilized to shift not only one's comprehension of a situation, but one's creative response to it, engaged and activated solely as a simple truth. Truth's character is thus defined, bringing one's identity into congruence with that character. It is this we call home, for there we are relocated to the seat of our parenting, which sets our direction and purpose, the still, small voice of wisdom. Indeed, we are comforted in the truth of what we are. At last we are at home with what we have found ourselves to be, truly be, wisdom continually and individually expressed. This involves a genuine and complete commitment to the inward way. One day a friend sent me a glorious reminder of this necessary focus she found on a spiritual website, www.tut.com. It went something like this. It's not the dazzling voice that makes a singer, nor clever stories that make a writer. It's not piles of money that make a tycoon. It's having a dream and want to live it so greatly that one would rather move with it and fail than succeed in another realm. This is a pearl of great price you have chosen to follow, at which point, of course, failure becomes impossible. Joy becomes a measure of success, and fitting into the genes you wore back in the day, inevitable. You have what it takes, each of you. Signed, the universe. Yes, service to your inner truth is the highest form of love. So focus on the pearl you are and live true only to what you truly are. Well, there's a conclusion of Principle 5, Chapter 7 in our book. Again, spend some time with it, reflect on it, see where you resonate, where you don't. Use your own words, write something, record something. Don't be afraid to go within. There's nothing to fear inside. The thing to fear is outside, because we make it up. It's all illusion. It's false. So you have that then, food for thought between this week and next. I hope you will join me next week. Please tell some of your friends, even enemies, maybe especially your enemies, to come join us for these podcasts. There's plenty in here for everybody, plenty in here to discuss. Even debate if you want to, that's perfectly fine. It's not who's right and who's wrong. It's what you resonate with that counts. And so, until next week then, I do have a little quote. It's a short one. Author is unknown. The moon is a reminder that no matter what phase I'm in, I'm still whole. Remember that about yourself. The moon is a reminder that no matter what phase you're in, you're still whole. What a wonderful gem that is. And so, folks, until next week, I hope you stay well and happy, plenty happy. I hope you love all those around you and feel that you are loved by all those around you, because you are loved too, all of life. Namaste, everyone. I love you.